Hey there, YouTube. Myron Golden here. We are in studio today with a live audience, and I'm going to do some hot seat Q&A, coaching, answering business questions for entrepreneurs, and hopefully you'll find some help in this. Let's go. Who wants to go first? Who's got a question? All right, Laban. Laban has a question.
Dr. Golden, long-time listener, first-time caller. You talk about the importance of niching or niching, depending on where you come up in the world. I feel like my own growth has been so stratospheric over the last 3 or 4 years that I don't want to latch onto something because I keep growing. What advice would you have for someone in my situation?
Wow, what a great question. So you feel like you're growing so stratospherically that if you would have, so basically what you're saying, I think, is if you would have latched onto a niche and decided a niche 3 years ago, you're in such a different place right now, you will be regretting that decision. Okay, cool. I get that. I think that innovation happens as a result of seeing the connection between seemingly unrelated things. That is what creates your unique brand. There's a book by 𝐷. It's called Innovation Secrets of Steve Jobs. Not sure if you've read it or not, but I know for a long time I had those same feelings that you have. Like if I niche down and I just say I'm gonna do this, what about all this other stuff I know how to do? I think it would be a good idea for all of us to take an inventory of our gifts, take an inventory of our passions and an inventory of our proficiencies, see where those things overlap, and create, for the purpose of our own experience, this is what I do. And I'm gonna explain, I'm gonna give you a perfect example of that. As perfect as you can get, as close to perfect as you can get without being perfect. A perfect example of that in a minute. But I think what we need to do is we need to take an inventory of our passions, an inventory of our proficiencies, see where all of those things overlap, and give me the opportunity to serve people at a very high level, while at the same time giving me the energy and bandwidth to continue to do that over time. So, for instance, you wouldn't think, like ordinarily, that the Bible and business have anything to do with each other. You know, you go to a business conference to learn business. You go like a business conference like Offer Mastery Live we had a couple of months ago, a business conference like Funnel Hacking Live, or like we're going to Vid Summit in October. You go to an event like that to learn business stuff, and then you go to church to learn Bible stuff. But my passion is I love the Bible. I love the Bible. It's my favorite thing to teach, but I also love business. It's probably my second favorite thing to teach. And so I thought, I wonder if the Bible has anything to say about business. And when I found out it does, and I started applying those things in my business got better. So I said, I'm gonna go do something unique in the marketplace. And I picked a niche, but it wasn't necessarily a niche that existed as such, but it was a hole in the marketplace where a niche could be created. And so I said, I'm gonna combine my love of learning, my love of learning the Bible, my love of teaching the Bible, my love of business, my love of learning business, my love of teaching business, my love of scientific principles, my love of learning scientific principles, my love of teaching scientific principles. I'm gonna take all that stuff, I'm gonna throw it in a pot, and we're gonna have some Myron gumbo, right? And so you don't see a lot of people. There are some people out there who teach, quote, kingdom principles, but I didn't want to be, and some people are going to be upset that I say this, but I'm just being transparent. I didn't want to coach Christian entrepreneurs. I did not want to coach them, but I didn't want to put myself in that hole. I coach Christian entrepreneurs. I'll coach a Christian entrepreneur, a heathen, a pagan, as long as they're not asking me to coach them on something that goes against my beliefs, right? So I don't be a Christian or don't be a Christian. That's between you and God. I don't coach Christian entrepreneurs, even though I'm a Christian. I don't coach black entrepreneurs, even though I'm black. I don't coach male entrepreneurs, even though I'm a man, because those are not pigeonholes that I wanted to put myself in. I want to help who I can help and let the work that I do what it does without me saying, well, this is who I'm for. In other words, so here's what I think. Here's where I think your unique niche is, Laban. I think your unique niche is in discovering the purpose for your life, developing yourself for that purpose, and then deploying yourself in that purpose. And what is that purpose? To live in your creative space, to make the world a better place. So my creative space is the Bible, business, science, geeking out on math and just stuff that doesn't seem to have anything to do with each other, geeking out on that, and then coming into the marketplace, and I say to the people who love the Bible, hey, did you know the Bible has this to say? But did you also know that these business principles apply to the Bible? I go to the business market and say, hey, yeah, did you know this business principle? But did you know the Bible has to say about business? I go to the scientific people listen to me and say, oh my goodness, he's talking about how one principle like thrust can overcome a principle like drag, and how lift can overcome gravity, and he's talking about all this really cool stuff that I didn't know, and I'm taking all of these seemingly unrelated things, showing people how everything is connected. So the niche that you create will be based on the people you attract by being who you're supposed to be. I don't know if that helped, but hopefully it was helpful. Yeah? Okay, cool. Whew. That was one of the hardest questions anybody's ever asked me. All right, who's gonna go next? Who has got a question? Dr. Ron, talk to me, brother.
Good morning, Dr. Gold, and thank you so much for the opportunity to share your knowledge and wisdom with us. I have a question for you. How would you recommend an author begin monetizing their intellectual properties knowing what you know now?
Good question. So how would I recommend an author go about monetizing their intellectual property knowing what I know now? The first thing I would say to an author is this. Like, you've written a book. Don't make the mistake of thinking that the book is your body of knowledge. The book is not your body of knowledge. The book is a platform. It's one form, it's one medium. It's one package in which to deliver that body of knowledge. And the reason I recommend that you not allow that one medium to be, don't think of that as your body of knowledge, because if you take the same content that's in your book, I want all of the authors, especially how-to authors, listen to me now, but even novels. So if you take that body of work and you say, hey, okay, this is my book, and I've written it, now what am I gonna do? Figure out how you can turn that book into a course. Because you can sell the book for $20, $30. If you turn it into a course, you could sell it for $300. Same content, different delivery mechanism. You could sell it for $200 to $2,000 or $3,000 because it's a course. If you turn it into a mastermind, you say, I'm going to take these concepts in my book, I'm going to turn it into a mastermind, I'm going to sell it for $20,000 or $25,000. It's so remarkable. Like, I probably shouldn't say this because some people would be afraid to say what I'm going to say right now, but because they'd be afraid they're going to lose money. But you're not, because every deed is a seed, every thought is a seed, every word is a seed that we're sowing into the garden of our future. And so a lot of the same content that's in my book that you can buy for $30 is on my YouTube channel for free. Like, it's not different content, it's the same content in a different package. So you watch it on YouTube for free, and then you buy it in B.O.S.S Moves for $30 plus $10 shipping and handling. It's so funny, had somebody comment on one of my videos yesterday. I was a little suspect about Myron Golden's B.O.S.S Move book, and I was really irritated that he was charging so much for it. That's what they said. I get that, because it's outlandish. It's pretty outlandish to charge $30 plus $10, $9.99 for a paperback book. That's unheard of. I don't know anybody who does that, right? Okay, but that's one of the reasons I did it. That's another conversation for a different day. But that content that's in that book is the same content that's in my Make More Offers challenge for $97 in the general admission, $297 as a VIP, $797 if you're VIP Platinum. Same content, different platform. More expansive because you have more time, right? You can, like, if you know something, you know more than you have time. You know more than a book will hold. So add water, and instead of it just becoming a bowl of soup, turn it into a soup factory, right? And so now, then we sell a coaching program that's tens of thousands of dollars, or a mastermind that's like $55,000, or a VIP day that's $350,000. So I'm not really teaching anything different in any of those. They're just different mediums, but they also come with a different level of access and / intimacy, right? And what I mean by that is people will pay to get close to the author. They'll pay more to get closer to the author, pick the author's brain, ask the author questions, be able to take a picture with the author than they will just to read the book. So if you have a book and you didn't take that content that's in the book and add it to other platforms, you are leaving an absolute fortune on the table. So that's what I would do. And if you're a novelist and you write novels, then turn your novel into a play. And then rent out a theater in your town and hire actors and put on a play and charge people to come to the play. And then Tyler Perry became a billionaire. He was a guy who was a homeless guy who did plays, and he recorded his plays, and his first movies were not movies. They were videotaped VHS recordings that he sold out of the trunk of his car when he was homeless. All he did was took that content, put it on a different medium, and then charged more for it. So if he can do it, you can do it, I can do it, we can do it. Realize that being an author makes you more than an author, it makes you an authority. Is that helpful? Appreciate you, Dr. Ron. All right, who else has a question? Okay, Brother Tom.
Thank you, Myron. This is golden, no pun
Thank
intended.
you.
But
I saw what you did there, by the way.
not everyone, of course, will be an entrepreneur. However, you talk a lot about mindset.
Sure.
Would you expound on where someone needs to be and begin if they go from a non-entrepreneur but really want to be one? What needs to happen in the mindset, if you could expound upon that?
Yeah, I think the difference, that's really good. I think the first thing that happens to transition from the mindset of an employee to the mindset of an entrepreneur is the main difference in that is the level of responsibility one takes on versus the level of responsibility one hands off. So if I go and I get a job, then making sure the business stays in business, that's a responsibility that I've handed off to the owner, right? Making sure there's enough money in the bank to pay your employees, that's a responsibility that I've handed off to the owner. So I'm giving most of the responsibility for making sure my work works for me to someone other than me as an employee. But as an entrepreneur, I'm taking ownership, which means I'm taking responsibility, which means if it's to be, it's up to me. It's like one of the things I share with coaches who coach, who do occupational therapy coaching, right, where they teach people how to get a better job, is that's not a market I want to be in. Why? Because when you are an employee, the mindset of the employee is, when I go to work, pencils are already in the drawer, right? But as an entrepreneur, when I go to work, I got to buy the pencils, I got to buy the drawer, I got to buy the building in which to put the desk that holds the pencils in the drawer. Like the owner takes responsibility for everything until they hire someone who they can delegate that part of the work to. And so if you're a person who is like hyper afraid of risk, and you have so much anxiety around the risk of being responsible for the cash register ringing or being responsible for other people's livelihood, you probably don't want to be an entrepreneur. Because, I can't really call it pressure. It can feel like pressure or it can feel like pleasure. It just depends on your mindset, right? And when we say mindset, that's a really fascinating term in itself, mindset. So we're talking about our mind, and then we're talking about it being set at a certain level, a certain thermostat, temperature, a certain speed. Like cruise control is like a speed set. A thermostat is like a temperature set. Autopilot is a set of instructions that's carried out automatically for the airplane to fly on the course that we set it on. And so when you set a mindset, what you're really doing is you're relegating a lot of your decision making from your conscious, what I call manual mind, to your subconscious, what I call automatic mind. And so your automatic mind is the thing that it already makes those decisions for you. There's some decisions I don't have to make. Why? I've already relegated those to my automatic mind. And so you have to decide which is more important to you. And I'm actually going to do a video on this. I'm going to release a video on this later. But which one's more important to you, security or freedom? And a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that they're the same thing. And they'll refer to financial freedom as financial security as if they're the same thing. But not only are they not the same thing, they're actually opposite things. So those are some of the differences between an entrepreneur and an employee. I think the biggest difference when it comes to offers, which is my specialty, is an employee makes one offer to one person, gets a yes, and it's a $50,000 offer, or a $75,000 offer, or a $40,000 offer, or a $100,000 offer to their employer. Their employer says yes, and now they have to fulfill that offer by getting up every day before they want to get up, getting in traffic they'd really rather not be in, to go to a place they'd really rather not work, to be around people that they really don't like, to make a little bit less money than it takes for them to survive, oftentimes. That's not always the case, but oftentimes that's the case. Whereas an entrepreneur, instead of them making one offer to one person, they make one offer to 100 people, to 1,000 people, to 10,000 people, to 1 million people. And so one of the things that gives you the ability to have freedom is your willingness and ability to make more offers. I can write a book once and sell that book 11 million times. And I know 11 million is not, but I know that's not a number, but that's why I said it like that. There's no limit to the amount of times I can sell the book that I wrote one time. There's no limit. And we make literally probably a little more than $500,000 a year just from book sales. Wrap your mind around that. Just from book sales. That's just one offer. We got a whole bunch of offers. We have a myriad of offers, myriad of price points. So the primary difference between an entrepreneur and an employee is an employee makes one offer to one person, and when they close the deal, they spend the rest of their life fulfilling it. And an entrepreneur makes one offer or multiple offers to tens, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people, and they keep on creating new offers to offer to the people who've already taken up their old offers, and then they sell their old offers to new people who come into their ecosphere. So I think that's the biggest difference. Is that helpful? Yes. Cool, my pleasure. All right, who else has a question? Okay, Alicia.
To the entrepreneurs that are in their genesis stage, how do they scale without leveraging the influence of another authority figure?
Okay, so how do they scale without leveraging the influence of another authority figure? Here's the first question I would ask is this: why would they want to scale without leveraging the authority of another influencer? Why would they want to do it that way?
So say they weren't necessarily comfortable, or they just weren't in a position or felt that they were in a position to ask or reach out to somebody about.
Okay, so I would say first and foremost, that's the thing I would work on. Everything that any of us wants, somebody else already has. All of the money that it's going to take for each and every one of you to become millionaires, trillionaires, billionaires, quadrillionaires, quintillionaires, whatever the number is, all of the money that's desired, that you desire right now that you don't have, it's in somebody else's pocket. They will happily hand it over if you offer them something they want more than the money. But that's not just the case with money. That's the case with everything. So I'll answer your question. So an entrepreneur that's in the genesis. So they're in the genesis. You're in the genesis. First thing you need to do is you need to establish a time that you're going to be working your business. Work your business during that time, every time, all the time. Number two, you need to establish a place. Where are you going to work that business? Because you're in the genesis. Where are you going to do it? And then you pick a place where you're going to do the work that you're going to do. And then third, establish what matters. Those are the first three things that I would do. Now, see, when you said Genesis, it like made my brain go, oh, Genesis chapter 1, the Genesis of the, right? It made me go into all this whole Genesis thing, right? Okay, so all we have to do, and I shouldn't say all we have to do because that's kind of like an oversimplification, but what we have to do, go read Genesis chapter 1 more slowly. you will see principles in there that God did at the genesis of his creation, that if you do them, they will work for you. So I'm going to give you an example. Creation began with intention. So like, where do you start? You set your intention. Okay, that's cool. You set your intention. What was God's intention? To create the heaven and the earth. That was his intention. So that was set. Then we have to recognize that disruption follows intention, right? So now disruption has followed my intention. As soon as I decide and begin to do something good, the first thing that shows up is something difficult. Don't be taken back by that. Don't let that tell you that you are on the wrong path. That's not a sign you're on the wrong path. Most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, it's a sign you're on the right path. Disruption following intention. So then you have to find a source of inspiration. This is all in Genesis chapter, this is in the first 3 verses, right? In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. That was his intention. And the earth was without form and void and darkness upon the face of the deep. That's disruption following intention. And God said, let there be light. God said, I'm sorry, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. That's the inspiration that follows, the disruption that follows intention. The Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, right? So you need to find something that inspires you to work when you don't feel like working, that inspires you to do the thing when you don't feel like doing the thing. You have to trust the truth when the lie feels right. What does that even mean? Trust the truth when the lie feels right. So you don't feel like you're in a place to reach out to an influencer. The only place in the world that thought exists is in the entrepreneur's head. That's not real. That's a story that you made up, and you're treating it as if it's truth, but it's not truth. It's just something that you've allowed to be true for you while you're believing it, right? When I started, I was Myron the Owl. Say, what does Myron the Owl mean? Like, I was speaking at a conference, or Jim Rohn was speaking there, Mark Victor Hansen was speaking there, Jerry Clark, all these people who were way more well-known than me. I was the last speaker on the last day. The number one question at the conference is, Myron who? That's what I mean when I say Myron the Owl. Okay, so nobody knew who I was. But yet I was speaking at that conference. Why? Because God knows who I am. And promotion doesn't come from the east and it doesn't come from the west, but it comes from above. Like, when God is ready to reveal you, no man can hide you. And until God is ready to reveal you, no man can shine enough light on you to make you revealed. It's not possible. And we go on and on, but here's the thing. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light that was good. So what is that? That's illumination. What is illumination? Illumination is light is what gives me the ability to see what I could not see in the darkness. And so if you think about light as an analogy, not just as light, but you think about it as an analogy, that illumination, the illumination in our lives comes from learning the things we did not know. Because something that you don't know is your darkness. Your ignorance is your darkness. Your learning is your light. And so God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light that it was good. Now watch what happens next. And God separated the light from the darkness. What's that? That's called separation. See, a lot of people, and why do we separate? We separate so we can identify things. And once we identify what this is that, so this goes over here, this goes over there, which is the next thing to happen, which is what? God made the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. And I'm going to end on this one. So we see delegation. That's the next thing that happened was delegation. God delegated the work of, God is light, but he delegated that the sun, the greater light, rules the day, the moon, the lesser light, rules the night. That's fascinating. I never thought of this before, so I might as well say it while I'm thinking about it, because I may not ever remember it again if I don't say it right now, right? So if you think about what is the moon, where does the light of the moon come from? Where does the light of the moon come from? It comes from the sun. So the light is reflecting, the moon is reflecting the light of the sun. Well, here's what's fascinating. If you think about light being goodness and darkness being evil, then the moon could be a type of the world, the flesh, and the devil, and the sun being a light, an illustration of God and goodness, right? Well, what's really interesting, when you look at a reflection in the mirror, the reflection that you're seeing in the mirror is actually backwards of the reflection that you see of the actual thing that you're looking at, right? Which is what Satan does is he attempts to take the good that is God and godly and reverse it and flip it around backwards, right? So God made the greater light to rule the day, the lesser light to rule the night. Watch what it says next, and this is the one I'm ending on. And the evening and the morning were the first day. So what do we see in that? We see segmentation to completion, and we see prioritization. What do I mean segmentation to completion? The evening and the morning were the first day. What does that tell us? God didn't save any of today's work for tomorrow. He got all of today's work done today. God is not a procrastinator. We also see prioritization. God did first things first. If God would have made the trees and the grass before he made the sun, the trees and the grass would have died before he made the sun. So God does everything in the right order. It's not just important to do the right thing, it's important to do the right thing in the right order. So that was probably an over answer, but hopefully it was helpful to some degree. Okay, Dr. B, go ahead.
So you've said in the past that the Bible is like your number one source of inspiration for what you do.
Inspiration, illumination,
All of
truth,
it.
all of it, all that.
Okay, so you've also said that it's a book about government, not necessarily
Yes.
a spiritual thing. So
It's not necessarily what?
I'm sorry, not a spiritual, but like a religious thing. It's
Right,
more
the Bible's
about
not a
government.
religious book, it's a governmental document,
Right.
yes.
And it's not just about government as in like our government, but also the way that the universe
It's
is
not about our government at all, it's about God's government,
right.
okay?
So how would you tell people like who aren't going to go to seminary school how to study these principles? Like how do they read the passages and see these that way? Like,
Well, really great question. So how do I read things? First of all, just becoming aware of the fact that it's not a religious book. Stop looking for religion in the Bible and you'll stop finding it. Like, I'm not saying that to you,
No,
but I'm
like-
just saying in general. So we go to the Bible thinking that it's about religion. When I say religion, I'm talking about religion from the roots of the Latin word legare. Legare is the Latin word from which we get the word religion, and that word means bondage. Well, Yeshua said, if you continue in my words, then are you my disciples indeed, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So the Bible is actually the opposite of religion, right? It's the ultimate truth. Now, how would I recommend? First of all, you have to become aware of, okay, I'm not even gonna say that's first of all. First of all, I'm gonna say this. Read the Bible for yourself. Ask God through his Spirit to teach it to you. That sounds woo-woo, but I'm telling you, there's no better teacher of any book than the author of that book, right? The stuff that I teach, I didn't learn it at seminary. I didn't learn it from a preacher. I didn't learn it from a pastor. I learned it from studying the Bible, reading it first. So we have to read the Bible. Why? Why do we need to read the Bible? So we can gain Bible knowledge, right? We read the Bible so we can gain Bible knowledge. And so we become familiar with the text, right? I know Jeroboam from Rehoboam, right? And all the other Boam boys. I'm sorry, stop, Myron, pump the brakes. Okay, so I know Joseph, the son of Israel, son of Jacob, from Joseph of Arimathea, from Joseph, the husband of Mary, the mother of Christ, right? I become familiar with the stories, right? When I read the entire Bible, I don't just read the half testament. You say, what do you mean the half testament? See, some people call the New Testament, but you've never read the Old Testament, so it's not the New Testament, it's just the half testament, because you've only read half of it. And the New Testament doesn't have any, you cannot even begin to understand the New Testament without having the context of the Old Testament to see the fulfillment of the Old Testament in the New Testament, okay? So you become familiar with it. So first we read it, then we study it, and we look for truth. We don't look to prove that the things we already believe are true. Like when you go to the Bible, leave your agenda at the door. Like stop needing it to mean something so you can be right. Religion wants to be right. Like the kings want to be righteous, which is very different. I don't need to be right. I don't need to win an argument. I don't need my religion's better than your. I don't care about any of that stuff. It's all worthless. Here's what's valuable. What's valuable is I had a meeting yesterday with my estate planning lawyer. She came and she asked me a question similar to what you asked me. Like if I were going to start reading the Bible, like what would you recommend? Well, stop. like I said, the Bible's not, I said, you should understand this if anybody does. You're a lawyer. The Bible is a book of government. It's a book of laws. Are laws a religious thing or are laws a governmental thing? The Torah is the law. The first 5 books of Moses, that's the law, right? Okay, and I said, so the Bible is a book about a king. When you read the Bible, you are seeking to understand these principles. It's a book about a king, a kingdom. A kingdom is the king's dominion, a royal family, and the culturalization of a foreign land. That foreign land is called earth. So the objective of the Bible is to teach us about our heavenly king so that we can make sure he's our personal king. So he will make us the king of our assignment, or the queen of your assignment, king or queen of your assignment. And then we rule over that assignment with the same level of authority that God rules over his assignment. And then we use that assignment that we rule over to serve people, not to lord over them. And when I'm reading the Bible, if those are the things I'm looking for, those are the things I will find. But if I'm looking to prove that the things that I believe, that I've been taught by my pastor, who learned from his pastor, who learned from his pastor, who learned from the seminary, who learned from the seminary, who learned from the seminary, who learned from the church fathers, who learned from the church fathers, who learned from the church fathers, who learned from Catholicism and then broke away into Protestantism, if I'm looking to learn what God is saying and what God has said, instead of looking for religion, if I am looking for the truth, God is faithful to reveal the truth. So that's where I would start. And then as you read the Bible, study the Bible, memorize scripture, and then think about the scriptures that you've meditated on, memorized. Because what happened for me when I started memorizing Bible verses, I'd be reading over here, and it would remind me of something I memorized over here, and this passage over here would shed light on this passage over here, because the scripture says we understand spiritual things by comparing spiritual with spiritual. What does that mean? The best commentary on the Bible is the Bible. My best chance at learning the Bible is when I see in scripture that it's telling me to do something, I actually do it. Me doing the things I know to do from scripture enhances my ability to learn new things to do from scripture. Why? If any man will know his will, if any man will do his will, he shall know the doctrine. So God is in the habit of teaching principles, new to me and you. They're not new in existence, but new principles to you and I. God is in the habit of teaching principles, new principles, to the people who have been obeying the old ones. And I don't mean obeying out of a sense of fear, but I mean obeying out of a sense of understanding. There's a reason I don't jump out of airplanes with a parachute. There are actually reasons I don't jump out of airplanes with a parachute. But anyway, there are reasons. Anyway, I'm gonna give you a word of advice. Do not tempt the devil to sin, because it is his nature. Okay, all right, so there's a reason I don't drive 150 miles an hour. There's a reason I don't ride motorcycles 100 miles an hour. I don't ride motorcycles at all. But there's a reason, right? It's not because it's against the law for me to ride a motorcycle. It's just against my law, right? Because just because I'm paying attention to them doesn't mean they're not paying attention to me. And it's not wrong to ride a motorcycle. It would just be wrong for me, right? Because of my objectives. So do the thing that God has shown you to do. He will show you more. Ignore the thing he's already told you to do, and he will ignore your request to learn more. Is that helpful, Dr. B? Yeah? Good. Cool. We're gonna do two more, and then I'm gonna do, okay, let's go Tim and then Andrew. We'll go Tim and then Andrew.
All right, so this is something that we actually spoke about. And
Okay.
Maybe you could elaborate on, for myself, but also in case anyone's in the same situation.
Sure.
To where I have something that I want to build that I'm extremely passionate about,
Sure.
wholeheartedly. And then I do have an existing thing that it seems like even when it comes, there's times I'm not even trying to grow it, and God keeps pushing business that way, and it keeps
Sure.
growing bigger and bigger. And basically you told me to work on that, continue to help it
Sure.
grow, allow it to grow, and get it to a point where I could use that to fund
As a
the part
nonprofit,
I'm
the other
really
thing.
passionate about.
Yep.
So if you could elaborate on that in case anyone's in the same situation.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have passions, and we think that because we have, especially, I think sometimes our passions to help other people, and in our mind, help means I'm gonna fix your problem. Let's start there, right? Whereas you fixing another person's problem doesn't necessarily help them, necessarily. I mean, maybe it does, maybe it could, but it doesn't necessarily help them. What we need to do, I believe, is if you want to start a nonprofit, this is what I tell everybody who wants to start a nonprofit. If you're broke and you want to start a nonprofit, wait until you're rich. Okay, and I know that sounds like, what is that? What do you mean by that? What if I don't want to be rich? Well, cool. You don't want to be rich for you. Go build a successful business. Give all the money from the business to your nonprofit. When you give all the money from your business to your nonprofit, other people will be happy to give to what you've given to, not to just what you've pontificated about. When broke people, I don't mean this disrespectfully, and I'm not trying to be condescending. I'm just being as honest as I can in the time that I have allotted. And when broke people come to me who've started nonprofits and they ask me to contribute to the nonprofit, I almost never do. Because my first question is, how much have you given to the nonprofit? Well, I don't have anything to give yet. Okay, then I don't have anything to give yet either. Why? Because your life, and I know some people are going to take offense to this. I don't mean it to be offensive. It is just what it is. From my perspective, you're giving lip service to caring about something, but you don't even care enough about it to make enough money to fix it. But you want to start a nonprofit and then encourage other people to give to the thing that's valuable, that's meaningful to you. Like, yeah, I get it. All of those things that you want to do, like whatever those charitable things are that you want to do, they're valuable. They're not valuable to me enough to give money to them if they're not valuable to you enough to give money to them. Okay, and so my recommendation is always start a for-profit business. A broke person should never start a nonprofit, in my opinion. I'm not necessarily right about that, but I'm pretty sure I am, right? And a person should not start a business based on their passion. I don't start businesses based on my passion. I start businesses based on the marketplace's passion. And I have a ministry right now. We have a 501c3 nonprofit ministry right now. Like every couple of years we've done, like a couple of years ago we did a golf tournament for it. This year we're going to do a golf tournament to raise money for it again. But we donate thousands of dollars a month to this nonprofit where we feed these orphans in Africa. And we supply like thousands of dollars a month to this orphanage in Africa. And every now and then I see other causes that our organization gives to, or that our nonprofit gives to. But here's the problem. A problem. People say, well, if I had your money, I would XYZ. That's easy for you to say, not having my money. And what you're really saying when you say that, you're saying, I believe in this thing that I'm passionate about so much that you should give money to it. But I don't believe in it enough. And all you care about is the money, but I really care about this thing, but I just don't have any money. But you don't understand, when you say things like that or when you think things like that, you're really only passing judgment on yourself. Let's say, for instance, I have a nice car that I paid a crazy amount of money for, which nobody needs to spend that much money on a car. Let's just say a $150,000 car. Nobody needs a $150,000 car. Yeah, but if I had your money, I wouldn't waste it on a $150,000 car. I would give that money to this cause, right? But what you're actually saying is, Myron, you care more about your $150,000 car / toy / whatever you want to call it than I care about this cause that I'm pontificating about, because I'm not willing to do what it takes to make $150,000 to give to that. But I know what you should do with your money, even though you cared enough about that thing to go do it. And I didn't even make the money so I could buy a car. The car was just gravy. I cared about the mission. But I'm just showing you how people think and how contorted that thinking can be. So for me, it makes way more sense. Here's what you do. Start a for-profit business. Make it profitable. How profitable? As profitable as possible. Then go start a nonprofit that does the thing that you care about, that you really love, your passion, and then have fundraising parties. Invite all of your rich friends, because when you get rich, you're gonna have a lot of rich friends. All your friends aren't gonna be broke anymore. It's amazing. You're gonna have rich friends. Invite your rich friends to come to your party. And then announce, we're raising money for this cause. You show them what the cause is, who wants to donate some money. And they will give money to your cause because you give money to it, because you're doing more than talking about how much you care about it. And I don't know if I expounded on it or not, but hopefully that's helpful. We support orphans, we support widows. Like, when I see that when I look at something and feel like, okay, our ministry could bless this, then that's one of the things that we contribute to. But generally speaking, for me, I have a couple of rules when it comes to like the outgo of money. One, I don't give money to people who are not good with money, because money won't fix your money problem. Did I say that too fast? Okay, so that's one. Number two, if somebody who I love wants to borrow money, then almost like oftentimes I will loan them money, but I'll never let them determine the amount. Myron, I just need to borrow $6,000. Can't loan you $6,000, but I'll loan you $300. Why? Because I can't be the solution to the problem you created. Because if I am your solution, then I am robbing you of your creativity. Okay? Another for me is like, I don't work for money. And I know that sounds crazy. I don't work for money, because people will offer me money to do things and I'll just tell them, no, I don't want to do that. Hey, Myron, I've got this really cool project. You can make $1 million. Yeah, cool, but it's not part of the next iteration of Myron. So the answer is no. So that was probably an over answer, Tim, but hopefully it was helpful. Okay, cool. Andrew.
Thank you, Dr. Myron. My question is based on an observation that I've seen in the past 6 months. The fastest way for someone to go from zero to $1 million appears to me to be find a great coach and then yield to them. Would you agree with that statement?
I would. I think that's a part of it. Okay. So fascinating that you would say that. The fastest way to achieve $1 million, $10 million, $100 million, whatever, is to gain clarity on that objective. And one of the reasons that finding a coach and then yielding to the coach, doing their idea versus your idea, is what you've noticed, is because that's one of the ways in which we find clarity. Because a coach can see things that a player can't see when they're on the floor or when they're on the field. A coach can see things that the actual person who's engaged in the activity cannot see. And so it's interesting that you asked that question, because I have coaches. So here's why I said clarity. I got started on YouTube, for instance. I opened my YouTube account March 15th, 2007. I remember the day. I remember when I started. I remember where I was at. I remember why I started it. So we were having a birthday party for my mother in 2007. She was in a nursing home because she had Alzheimer's and some other dementia stuff going on. So we were having my mom's birthday party at the nursing home for her, where I was there, my brothers were there, all my nieces and nephews were there, my kids were there. We were all there. It's my mom's birthday, and we're having her birthday party. My nephew, Daniel, had posted a YouTube video 3 days earlier, and that YouTube video had 50,000 views. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So I started a YouTube channel. Boom. I haphazardly made videos every now and then when I was thinking about it on something I cared about a little bit, haphazardly, for the next 14 years. Okay. And then I'm at a conference and I hear Daryl Eves, the guy who wrote the YouTube formula, also now my YouTube coach. He spoke on YouTube, and I'm sitting there in the audience and I'm dumbfounded. I know y'all really think I'm really this genius dude. Sometimes, yes, sometimes not so much. And I'm listening to this guy talk and I'm thinking to myself, you did what with what? And he was talking about how he helped 21 YouTubers get over 1 million subscribers. He talked about how he started this program. He launched this, quote, film series, and some of you have probably seen it, called The Chosen, and how that film series had made millions upon millions of dollars. But the thing that he said that really just blew my doors off was, he said, yeah, in the last, I think it was 3 years, we've sold $29 million worth of swag, t-shirts, hats, and hoodies. $29 million? Now I'm really what are you talking about, bro? That didn't make any sense to me. And so me and my son and my daughter were there. We came home. We're debriefing like we always do when we come back from a mastermind. We're like, hey, what was the biggest takeaway? What was your biggest takeaway? My kid said to me, what was your biggest takeaway? Oh, definitely the YouTube guy. I didn't know that YouTube did all that stuff. I was on YouTube for 14 years before I turned on 15 years before I turned on monetization. Think about that. The Myron Golden, right? No longer an owl. no YouTube monetization turned on for 15 years. Hire this guy as my coach. So I go behind. I said, do you have a coaching program? He says, yeah, it's $15,000. Can I write you a check right now? Wrote him a check, gave him the check. That was in October 2021. January 2022, he started coaching us. By us, I mean Zach and Laura, 2 people on my team. He's coaching them. They're telling me what he said. Why? I'm going to be fully transparent. I don't want to go to a group coaching call. I know I make people go to group coaching calls. I get that. Don't judge me. I don't want to go to a group coaching call and hear people ramble when it's time for them to ask a question, blah, 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 all of that. So Zach and Laura would tell me what he said. So Zach comes to me in February. He says, okay, we're getting ready to turn on monetization. I said, cool, what does that mean? He said, YouTube's going to start sending us money. Okay, cool. This was February of 2022. I had no idea what that even meant. We're going to turn on monetization. I said, okay. YouTube's going to start paying us. Okay. The next month he comes to us. YouTube paid us $305 last month. I'm like, for what? Like, because we turned on monetization. Oh, okay, right? And then, so the next month he comes to me. YouTube paid us $353 this month. What are you talking about? We didn't do anything. You got to understand. This is March of 2022. I had not uploaded a YouTube video since June of 2021. So I'm confused because none of this is making sense to me. I'm like, what is this? Yeah, man, we turned on monetization. Okay, well, we're going to start creating YouTube videos in April. April 1st, we started creating YouTube videos. Why? Because the coach said, pick a day of the week when you can release a video every week without fail so people can count on it. Like when you were a kid, you watched Batman. You knew when it was coming on, same bat time, same bat channel. You want to make sure you're on the same bat time, same bat channel. Okay, cool, I can do that. I know I can do Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. because that's when we do our Bible study anyway. We'll just record that and do it live. Okay, cool. We started getting traction out of the gate. It was crazy. Like our first month being intentional on YouTube, we made $1,457. I'm like, I wouldn't have known that without a coach. I had the clarity that I had came from the coach, right? I would have, even if I had read the book, I wouldn't have had the level of clarity I had from that, like, right? So when I said to my son and my daughter, I didn't know YouTube could do all that, my daughter's like, I knew that. She's like, there are kids in their 20s with Hollywood mansions that they bought with money they made from YouTube. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like none of those sentences, I knew what the words meant. But the sentences didn't make any sense to me. But what gave me clarity was when somebody stood up and equated, watch this now, equated having a YouTube channel with a present perceived virtue that I had, which is building a successful business, and a future pursued vision that I had, which is building a multi-million-dollar business. That's when I saw the connection. Sometimes the context has to be right for clarity to show up. And I believe that coaches provide context that also provide clarity. And the interesting thing about all of that is this. When you hire a coach, the hardest time to do what they say is in the beginning. Because the things that they're going to tell you to do, if they're good, are so counterintuitive to you, you think they have lost their minds. And you're right, they did lose their mind. They lost their mind that's like your mind, that used to be like your mind is now. They lost that part of their mind. And so they know what works, even though it feels like and seems like there's no universe in which it could work. So from that perspective, yes, hiring a coach is going to be one of the fastest paths to cash because it's one of the fastest ways to gain clarity, but you're only going to gain clarity from that if you do what the coach says and ignore what you think and what you feel. So hopefully that was helpful, Andrew.
A feeling that I got when I was talking to my mother the other day about her growing her business. And one thing that she says, and you can decide if you want to answer this or not, but the belief is that you should stay under the radar.
What radar?
Exactly. So when
you start a business, if you stay under the radar,
like entrepreneurs who feel like they need to stay under the radar, like if they make too much that they're going to be some target and
so here's what I'm going to say about that. Here's what I'm going to say. I will answer that question because it's a legitimate question. when you become a successful entrepreneur, it is going to attract unwanted attention as much as it's going to attract wanted attention. So whether or not a person as a new entrepreneur should stay under the radar or not, I believe is going to be determined by their objectives. Like I always say this, build your business in a way that it serves you at the highest level so it gives you the energy and bandwidth to serve your clients at the highest level. So if privacy is like uber important to you to the point of like wanting to stay under the radar, then build a business that lets you stay under the radar. You don't have to be the face of your business if that's a priority for you. I like privacy. I don't want people I don't know coming to my house. I don't want everybody I know coming to my house. I'm just keeping it real. Is this too transparent, right? I don't want everybody I know coming to my house. I don't want anybody calling me unless I gave them my phone number, because if somebody calls me and I didn't give them my phone number, I'm not going to answer it. I don't want to talk to you. Not because I don't like you. I don't like the phone. I don't want to talk on the phone. When I go home, I put my phone down and do my best not to talk on the phone at home at all, ever. I do my best to do it. Sometimes it's not possible, but like I used to be glued to this thing. It was like a leash. It was like a leash that was a leech, right? So you have to figure out what's most valuable to you. The business that I built, because I help other entrepreneurs, my business can't be under the radar. You attract a level of unwanted attention in the form of trolls. It could be as extreme as death threats. It could be just people calling you names, and that's painful for you. People calling me names is not painful for me. I've been called names my whole life, right? So it depends on your objective, right? But build your business in a way that it serves you at the highest level, so it gives you the energy and bandwidth to serve your clients at the highest level. And if you will do that, so flying under the radar, if that's important to your mom, she just needs to figure out what are the reasons she wants to fly under the radar, what are the reasons she wants to be virtually unknown. If that's more important to her than an objective that would cause her to have to become known, then she just does it her way and her business stays wherever that allows it to go. It goes wherever that allows it to go. Does that make sense? So I'm not saying it's wrong for a business standard radar. It's not wrong if that's your primary objective. If that's one of your primary objectives, it's not wrong. Like, I love my privacy. I don't want people all up in my zone, right? And so it just depends. Does that make sense? Hopefully that's helpful. Hey guys, thank you for watching that. Me coach people on a hot seat. The seat was hotter at some times than it was at other times. But I had a lot of fun. The folks that were here, I think y'all had a lot of fun. Y'all have a lot of fun? Yeah. Okay, they had a lot of fun. So hopefully, those of you watching on YouTube will enjoy it as much as the people who are here enjoyed it, and as much as I enjoyed it. And if this video gets a lot of views and a lot of shares and a lot of likes, and we get a lot of subscribers, and y'all show that you like it, we'll probably do it again. So in the meantime, in between time, peace out, Cub Scouts.